Queen's Lead podcast. I'm your host, Amy Singleton, and as a child of the 80s, I'd love to say Queens rule, but they don't. Queens lead. Being a queen means you are worthy to be a leader of people. The guests on our show do exactly that. They are leading the way in their businesses, families, and communities. They're taking their rightful place in the spotlight, leading and inspiring the developing queens in all of us. Welcome to the Queen's Lead podcast. Welcome, everybody, to the Queen's Lead podcast. Today, we have Shankari Parody with us from Soul Sister. We are so excited to have you today. She is a wife. She is a mom. She is a nonprofit board member. She owns her own company. Welcome, Shankari, and tell us about you.
Hi, thanks so much for having me, Amy. This is such an amazing honor. Just a little bit about me. So yes, I'm a wife and a mom, and I live in Oklahoma. I'm originally from Canada. So my parents are still living in Canada, which is exciting. And I have one sister who lives in Arizona. I just love sewing. That is my life's passion. And my mom always told me that it was in my blood because both of my parents actually sew. So I inherited this amazing gift. Yeah. And I'm able to, at this point in my career, I'm able to create all kinds of quilts for just about any endeavor. I'm looking into creating art quilts now, which I really am interested in finding out more about. And then I also design patterns for quilt makers, and I'm able to use my artistic talents there. And I'm also looking into creating fabric one day, surface pattern design. So yeah.
Awesome. So when did you come here from Canada?
So I moved here in 2006. When I married my husband. He's actually from Oklahoma, and I guess that's a story for another podcast.
Yeah.
I'll give you the short version. We were both in banking at the time, and I used to work for a banking company. His company was helping to teach us some new software, and that's how we met across in Vancouver, actually, Vancouver, British Columbia. And then we dated for a couple of years, and then we got married, and I moved to Oklahoma.
Oh my gosh, what a cool story. That we got to dive in deeper into that sometime.
Of
so
course.
tell us what it looked like for you. I know you said you sewed a lot from your parents and their influence growing up in Canada, but what did that transition look like from banking to sewing full-time and owning your business doing that?
Oh my goodness, right? What is that? Like,
what is that all about? Totally different. I love it, but
yeah.
There's a story there. I can feel it.
There's a lot of stories I could tell you. One of the things that happened for me is I went to McMaster University, and I have a degree in biological sciences. So I have an affinity for science, technology, not so much the technology piece as much as I would love. But I really enjoy the biological sciences, chemical sciences. And so I decided to pursue a career in medicine at first, and it didn't pan out exactly how I thought it was going to pan out, but God has different plans, right? So
exactly.
I went around this roundabout way, and I went to technical school, and I got a degree in information technology, which led me into the computer aspect of banking. And then I worked in banking for several years. And then I still had my science degree, right? Like, what was I going to do with that? So when I moved to Oklahoma, we had our first child. And at that time, I was still in the midst of trying to decide, what do I want to do with my life? And
I have this wholly formed human being now. What do I want to do?
Yes.
When I grow up? I have no idea. Yeah.
So I decided to go back to school for nursing, and I became a nurse.
That's right. We're both nurses and not nursing anymore.
A little bit on the side. I feel like that's my side hustle now. Like,
gotcha. Yes.
I moonlight probably once every 2 or 3 weeks in a cardiac unit, and I love it. I love the folks that I work with, amazing folks. But so I transitioned basically from the banking world to back into science. And then from there, in 2018, I really decided to go, like, I think in 2016 is when I actually started Soul Sister, the brand. And then in 2018, I really took off and hit the ground running with it. So and then haven't looked back.
So what was the motivation for you to like, I'm going to do my own thing?
Yeah, so I knew that I loved sewing. That was a given. When I moved to Oklahoma, my parents gifted me an old 1960s Viking sewing machine, which I still
Ah,
have. You can see it in the background on the
I
Zoom
can.
on
I
that
love
side. Yeah.
it. Uh-huh.
So it's one of my hallmark pieces. I love it, and I will always keep it. I will treasure it. Um, what I think drove me to do my own business was just like anyone else, trying to find the flexibility of home life versus job life and family and being a wife and wanting to be there for my family in a different way. And so
Yes.
that leads you to create this new space in your life where you look at what is the possibility of creating something different? What does that look like? What would I really want to be doing? What do I love? And those are all questions I think entrepreneurs go through on their journey to finding what it is they want to do and find their purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then in the midst of all of that, I did a transformational leadership workshop, which really honed in on my purpose and passion, which is to create a world with no landfill fabric. And if that's possible, I get to be a source of that.
I love it. So were there doubts along the way? Were you like, oh, can I do this thing on my own? Or did you have some people around you that kind of rallied around you or that you had an example maybe of?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's always, that fear of the unknown, first of all, that like, I don't know which way to go or what direction to follow or that kind of thing. So that definitely crept up and happens. It definitely happened for me. In those moments, I would say to just lean in, right? Like keep going because you're uncovering things. You're almost like uncovering this dirt from whatever it is, and you're finding the gems of what you want to become. And so that definitely happened for me. I would say I had the fear of like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know enough. I'm not that great. All of those things creep up. And then you get the support from the loved ones. So your family is my biggest support is my family, my husband, Jimmy, and of course my kids. They're my biggest supporters. And it doesn't matter in their eyes what you do and how you do it. They're always going to be your supporters, which is like so amazing because think of all the negativity that gets created in this world, and just to
Yeah.
find one piece of like positive that creates that light and that space for you to grow into. So I feel like I definitely leaned on that. And then one of the things I also experience probably on a day-to-day basis is imposter syndrome, where you feel like, what the heck am I doing in this space? Like, do I
Yes.
even belong?
Right.
Right.
Can I
And
even do
people,
what I say I'm doing? I don't know.
and then
Yeah.
people are like thinking that you're the expert. So you're like, oh, I get to show up in this way now.
Yeah. Like, oh,
So
wait, they're
yeah.
all waiting on me.
Yeah. Is that too
Yeah.
loud?
No, it's fine. I mean,
Okay.
we're going to be able to hear it, but all right, people, cut out, do what you got to do, edit. It's fine.
Okay.
They'll edit whatever out. Are they sawing your son's room?
They're sawing in the room. So we just bought a new to us home. It's from the 1970s, and there were two living rooms. So the family had added on an extra living room, and I'm actually in one of the extra living spaces as well, which I converted to my sewing room. But
Uh-huh.
so we have 3 bedrooms, and I have 3 children. So the boys are sharing right now, and eventually, once this room gets made, then each of the boys will have their own rooms, and my daughter will
Nice.
have her own room, and they get their own kind of space to grow, space to have privacy as they get older. I have one teenager, and the boys are a little bit younger, so they're growing and they need that. We all need that, right?
For sure. You got a
Yeah.
teenage daughter?
Yeah, she's 13, and then I
God
have
bless
two
you.
boys. They're 12 and almost 10. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. You are a busy woman. So you moved from banking and technology and nursing into sewing with the intent of decreasing, not only doing something you love, but decreasing landfill fabric, which I know is a huge problem. Not a lot of us think about. Our landfills are overflowing with things all the time. And to be someone that's starting to slowly take away from that, chipping away from that is awesome. Who are your clients? Who are the clients that you serve with your sewing?
So I would say mostly they are similar to me, like moms that are that have kids that you've saved up clothing over the years. They've gone to school, and you have all these like basketball shirts and soccer jerseys, and oh, they went to church camp, or they went to VBS, and they have all these like t-shirts and memories that are in a container in a box somewhere, and you need something to do with them so that you can bring them back out and allow your children and your families to remember the memories that are associated with that. So I feel like I bring back to life, or I breathe new life into those t-shirts and clothing, just by giving it another avenue to be presented in your home. You can use it, you can like display them if you want to, or like just have a different way of preserving that memory, rather than in a bin somewhere stuck in a
Yes.
closet.
To never be looked at again, or just to pull out and cry over every 5 years. Now you
Right.
can have, okay,
Yeah.
so like kids who are graduating or maybe moving on to that next step of their life or
Yeah.
something. So you can make blankets like that.
Yes, things like that. And then
Awesome.
my other avenue is families that have lost loved ones. I'm able to take
Mm.
those memories and bring them back to life. And one of the projects that I did just recently was he was a school teacher. The family patriarch was a school teacher, and he used to love doing stained glass. So he had some pieces, and his daughter had kept these pieces. And I actually was able to take a photograph of one of her pieces that her dad had made, and turn it into a piece that was instilled in fabric into the quilt. So
Oh,
it's just a very
wow.
artistic way of like interpreting the fabric and using it in such a way that gives back the family a sense of like being a part of that person again, right? Having that person back in their life again. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So eliminating waste, preserving memories, and that's awesome. Okay.
thank
I
you.
love it. I love it. And tell us about the nonprofit that you're involved in. I understand you're a board member for a place. I've spoken to another podcast guest about this a little bit before, so I can't wait to hear more. The True You movement. Tell us about True
Yes.
You.
So the True You movement is based on the foundation, the True You organization. And what we do is our aim is to support women that are coming out of any phase of life, going into any phase of life that need any type of support, whether it's like financial, or figuring out how to get that next job, or figuring out where to place their kids for school because they had to move location, whether they're coming
Mhm.
out of like prison, or they're coming out of domestic abuse, or they just got divorced, or whatever the situation. Now you're into like something happened to your spouse, and okay, now I'm a single parent, what do I do? You
Mhm.
just, there's so many opportunities for us to serve our community, and this is just one avenue. And I feel like I'm getting chills now, because I feel like it's such an important detail for us to be as women and come together in a way that is supporting and empower each other, and this allows us an avenue to do that. So
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Like, all right, lady, you're in this point. You need to go to this point. Let us help you across that bridge.
Right, right. And there's so much that goes around that, right? Like there's the mental health aspect, the spiritual side of things, just making sure you have enough to get on your feet for today. I mean, that's a big one. Like,
Hmm.
just let's be happy we're at this point, right? Like, here we are. And now what can we do? What's next? So I feel
Yes.
like, yeah, I feel like we get to stand in that space and really stand tall, and allow other women to stand tall too.
Yes. And
Yeah.
you are the secretary on the board there, and you're
Yes.
bringing in some sewing classes for these ladies.
Yes, that is my aim and goal, is to support them in either embroidery skills, handwork skills. I mean, sometimes we just need to know how to sew that button back on our jacket so we can wear it again
Yes.
and like that's the one thing that you need maybe to go to that interview,
Yes.
right? And it
Yes.
matters. Those little details matter. So I think that giving people that ability, it just empowers and just supports and allows you to stand tall, like I said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not only to know, I've been that mom sitting there going, you need a button. Okay. All right. Well, it's $10 to take that down the road to have a seamstress do it professionally at
Right.
an alteration shop. That might be almost an entire hour's worth of pay for someone starting out their life again. So to have
So
that
true.
knowledge, and not to
Yeah.
mention, you said, I mean, that's obviously a translatable skill into potentially into the workforce as well, right?
Absolutely. I mean, we can make all kinds of things. You can go into garment making, you can go bags. I mean, all kinds of avenues there. Maybe you want to be a quilter like me, or a designer. There's so many avenues to look at when it comes to just sewing. Yeah, people think it's just sewing with a machine, but no, there's lots of different things you can do with that. So much.
Yes, and that's not exactly the kind of things our mothers are sitting at home teaching us anymore because they're in the
Right?
workforce too.
They are out in the workforce, and a lot of things changed for us, when wars and things happened, and then economic breakdowns, then it pushed women to look for other avenues to support their families in different ways. So yeah, it's a basic skill, but it's such a huge basic skill.
Yeah,
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 we get to
something
bring
we
it
don't
back.
think about. I know there's
Yeah,
not exactly home ec at school anymore either.
right, right.
Like, yeah,
What
okay, we're
happened?
gonna need these skills. What happened to us? We need
Yeah.
these skills.
I
Thank
mean,
God you're here teaching us.
even if it's like basic cooking, right? Like, I'm so excited because I feel like schools get to bring this back. And so one of the classes my daughter actually gets to take at her school, they're in a different school-based program. There, she's going to take like a food class or a cooking class or something like that. So I'm excited. Like, these are the things that we want to perpetuate in this world, right? Like, what are we up to
Yes.
creating? We're up to creating these kinds of things where we can,
Yeah.
yeah, offer more solutions for people to just get out of their own, stuckness, I would say, and then learn to grow with a new skill. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
That's not something that's being offered at every school. My kids are in a particular school district that my little
Yeah.
boy is going into high school and is so enthralled with cooking and wants to learn to be a chef. And there's
Oh,
really not anything available there. So
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
so I
I
love
would
that you guys are
say
teaching these
look
people.
into local places. Like, for example, where we live, the Whipped Bakery actually offers cooking classes. So if you can
Yes.
find local places near you that offer things that your kids are into, I would say do that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he did. He and his niece, my niece did one of those classes at Whipped Bakery on North Side here
I
over
love
spring
it.
break. They learned to make a Pop Tart and all kinds of stuff. It was
That
fantastic.
is so
Yeah,
fun.
it
I
was
mean,
great.
basics, right? Like,
Right,
easy
basics.
stuff and have fun.
Yes.
Yeah. I
Yes.
love it. I love that.
So the True You movement, teaching women basic life skills, financial skills, how to get unstuck skills, cooking skills, sewing skills, so important, especially coming out of tough situations like divorce
Yes.
or imprisonment, sometimes because of
Yes.
choices they had to make.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm super excited about getting more involved with that. So tell us about some of the struggles that you've had with starting your new business. What's one of the biggest mistakes you've made that you'd like to kind of just call out and say, all right, ladies, don't do this thing?
Yeah, I would say really look at where you can spend your time and money. So what I mean by that, okay, experience for myself. I did a couple of shows um, back in the early days when I was still starting out with Little Sister. I did a couple of shows, and um, I invested a lot of money in those shows.
Like
Sometimes it
trade shows, you mean,
costs.
like to set up a
Yes,
booth and okay,
right,
yes, yes.
right. So this particular trade show was well known in the community, well loved, and droves of people came in, but it didn't work for me. Like, it just, maybe it was the model that didn't work for what I do and how I create. And so, lesson learned, you use some of your money for that. And I almost went into this depression around it because I felt like, oh my gosh, I put so much time and effort into the show, and I didn't have anything to show for it. And so it really, I think most of all, probably bruised my ego, number one.
That's tough.
And
Those are the hard lessons.
I know, right? And then number two, it just really allows you to look at where do you want to go and who do you want to target to. So look at your target audience and make sure you have the support you need and talk about those things. Don't hold it inside of you. Like if you're feeling depressed or if you're feeling something over something that's happening in your career, talk about it.
Yeah. Having those support people that surround you can be infinitely valuable, to have that shoulder to cry on or that person to ask about. And it's hard to talk about what we're doing at first. At least it was for me. I kind of wanted to hold it as a secret until I was sure it was going to be a success or it was gonna not fail.
So what if somebody else was doing exactly what I'm doing or something similar to what I'm doing? Or I don't want to share my ideas because possibly somebody's already doing it, you know? And so there's a lady, her name is Bonnie Christine, and she's in the surface pattern design world. And she's, one of her things that she tells her students is she says, there's room for you. So there's room for everyone. There's space in this world for everyone. And there's an opportunity for everyone to like look for whatever it is their passion is. So I think that, yeah, even when you're experiencing those lows and highs, even when you're experiencing any of that, know that there's always space for you to grow into. So
I love that.
That's what I would remember. Yeah.
Yeah, there is space for you. And, you know, at least for me, I spent a long time being upset or angry or motivated about all these different things, you know, like we need to save the whales, we need to save the landfills, we need to save the women, we need to save the men and the boys and the sun and the earth and all of these things. But thank God there's somebody who cares about each individual thing like that and puts their full effort and their full purpose toward it. Like you're helping save our planet by decreasing the landfill, you know, fabric. I can't do that. That is not my calling or my purpose, but I'm so thankful that there's someone whose purpose that is, so that we can all work together to make an actual difference, one thing at a time.
So true. Each person's gifts are their unique gifts, and we get to work with all of them. So amazing.
Yes, I love it. I love it so much. So tell us about growing your business. What have been some of the challenges with growing Soul Sisters?
So one of the things with Soul Sister that I find difficult is sometimes creating the social media posts, or, you know, worrying about how many followers I've got, or how am I going to do exposure around email, you know, sending out the emails, things like that. And so I'm the type of person, when I realize that those are skills that I don't particularly have, I'm going to look for the expert. Just like someone coming to me and asking me, how do I make a quilt? They know that I'm the expert at that, so they're going to come to me. So in that same way, when it comes to like technical pieces on my pattern design, I go to a technical graphics artist and I get them to create what I need, and I obviously pay them for it. But the point is to get to that point where you can be self-sustaining in a way that is also supporting other people. So it's not just Soul Sister, right? Like there's other people behind what I do, and thank goodness that they're amazing at what they do, because they support me to create what I get to do. And so I would say, if there's things that you're not quite comfortable with, don't be afraid to keep looking. Like one of the things, of course, we can always Google it, right? Like that's one of the main things. If you're not sure how to do something, Google it. Ask for help, ask for that support, network yourself so that you make connections. It's like how we met at a networking event. So you make connections that you can, you know, find value in supporting other people, and then also allow them to give you value. It's a give and take, give and receive kind of experience. You cannot have the action of giving without receiving. It's like that's the end goal, right? So, so yeah, there's like this aspect of, yes, I don't know everything, and I'm probably never going to know everything. And that's a
Yeah.
challenge that we all experience. But you can, and I don't like to say but because nobody likes to be the end of a but. Um, so I would say, and you get to, work through whatever it is that you don't understand or don't know. So for me, that is a challenge. I'm not always technical. I don't know how to do all of the graphics design. So I get support. I get somebody to help me. That's
Yes.
a big thing. Yeah. So that would
Rely
be
on
the big challenge.
experts. Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Rely
Yeah.
on experts in their field. Yeah.
Yeah. I could probably do my own taxes. Why would I?
Right?
When there are experts who know all the things about it, I
Exactly.
could definitely Google, how do I
Yeah.
sew on a button or how do I sew a quilt? But how much time is that going to take away from the things in my purpose that I need to fulfill when you're right
Yeah.
here, ready, willing, and waiting to do the thing expertly?
Right, right. And then it's not always that you'll never know. Maybe you'll take a class, or like you said, if you Google it, you watch a YouTube video and you'll learn it. And you can also support the other people to like help you, because there's this like journey that we have to go through from the time that we actually like figure out something that we don't know, and then we figure out how to use it or do it or have someone help us do it, so figuring out that and allowing the space for yourself to be like, it's okay for me to be where I am and not know, and not be like, oh, I can't do it, or because that happens a lot too, where you think like, oh my gosh, now I have to figure out how to do, 10 posts a week on my social media, and I don't have time for that. And my pictures are horrible, whatever, like you come up with all these like negative excuses in your mind of why you can't create something, when in fact, you can. We all innately know we can. And we just
Yes.
get to give ourselves love and grace to get there. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Love and grace. Talk a little bit about your husband and your family and what role they play in you owning your business and being this busy mom wearing all the millions of hats you wear.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So it's so interesting because so my husband and I have been married for over 16 years. I love him to death. He's like my best friend. And he always
Oh.
says that too. He says that I'm his best friend. We have our quirky moments and our moments where we don't quite agree on everything, and that's okay too. We have space for that in our relationship, which is amazing. He's my biggest fan, my biggest supporter. Anytime I come up with like a magical new unicorn idea, he's like, oh my gosh, just go do it. It's amazing. Do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I don't know, as an entrepreneur, I think we think of ideas all the time.
Yeah.
Million and one ideas of like,
Yes.
oh, this is a great idea. I should create that. And then I wish I had like a penny for every idea. I probably would be rich by now, because
Yeah.
just like having the ideas, right? So yeah, he's my biggest supporter. And I just noticed my languaging around my children a lot more. Ever since I did that transformational leadership workshop, I've really noticed how I speak to my children and how they speak to others, right? And so there was an
Mm.
experience where I usually get paid for like a blog that I did or something. And then out of that blog, I could potentially turn it into like a pattern to sell. So
Mhm.
the people that were associated with that particular blog that I was creating for them, they asked me that question. They were like, hey, can we turn this into a file and then market it to people? And I was like, that sounds amazing. I love that
Yeah.
idea. And is there a possibility to create some sort of like benefit for both of us in this, right? Like a
Yeah.
royalty system or something that supports me as well, because that's a lot of work that I put in. Um,
Mhm.
so I wrote that out in an email, and I was like, what would it look like if we could make some other possibilities? Like, how could we make this look? And so I allowed my daughter to read it, and she was like, Mommy, you are so nice. Like, you said it so nicely, and I would have just been like, give me my money. And so
Nice.
it was such a tangible like opportunity to like teach in that moment. Because yeah, we can say, give me my money. We can say those we could say those words, but then how would it be received from the other person, right? Like they might feel a certain way. And of course, we can't control anybody else's feelings or experience, but how we say something or navigate that situation can allow for love and grace to show up in those moments, because maybe they didn't mean it the way they did, but that's the way it came out. And the same thing about when we say something, we may not have meant it that way, but it came out. And, now we have to go and, kind of manage it or handle it. So, yeah. So I love those moments where I can allow myself to still be myself and be open to new possibility.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
teach your kids a little something along the way.
Yeah.
And maybe they teach you something back.
Oh, for sure. A lot of the times. I think when I was first starting out, I asked them a question and I said, do you think I should do nursing or I should do sewing? What should I do? And they were like, well, which one do you like better? Do that.
Right? Like, gee, I'm a fully grown adult. Why didn't I think of that?
Right. Exactly. Their epiphanies are just so grandiose. It's beautiful to watch. Yeah.
Yeah,
Amazing.
they're like,
Yeah.
well, Mom, what do you like to do? Just do more of that.
Yeah. Right? If we just listen
Okay.
to them. Yeah. So,
From the mouths of babes, they say.
exactly. Yeah.
Do your kids have any entrepreneurial aspirations?
Oh, yes. So just recently they actually did a local entrepreneur show. And it was funny because on the way to the show, in Oklahoma, it's so windy and it's so crazy. And they were just like, I don't know if I want to do this show. I'm not sure. And then my daughter was like, well, after the show, I probably am not going to do this business anymore. I think I'm done after this. I was like, okay, that's fine. Whatever you want to do, you get to experiment and have fun. And maybe this worked for a while and we'll pick something else and you get to choose. And so we did the show and some of our stuff kind of blew all over the place. And there was like a little pond or a river. Some of my daughter's things flew into the pond and we were running down to the pond to go get it. And, all three of my kids have each of their things that they like to work on. And my daughter, she ended up winning the entrepreneur show.
What?
Yeah, the Young Entrepreneur Show. So
yes.
Yeah, so it was pretty amazing. So the one who said at the beginning she wasn't sure if this was her thing, all of a sudden when she let go of like what it kind of manifested or looked like, I don't know, she just flourished and she was able to create that. So how amazing, right? Like they learn. Yeah, we learn from them and they learn from us. So I'm just super excited. Yeah, my older son, he does like beads and jewelry and that sort of thing. And then my youngest son, he makes perler bead ornaments. So it's the beads that you kind of, the plastic and that you iron it and they kind of melt.
Okay.
Yeah, they melt it together into different shapes. So he loves that. And then my daughter, she makes all kinds of sewing wares. So she makes little coasters or keychains and sewing kits and things like that.
Okay. So did that little bit of success give her kind of a shot in the arm to keep going?
I think, well, when she made a little bit of money, not a whole bunch, but she made a little bit. And so she was like, I think I want to invest. And so it's so interesting because I'm the one always talking about like, we should invest and we should do this with our money and allow it to grow and come back. And so now that's kind of coming into her and she's like, I have this money. I think I want to invest it. So we're looking at opportunities for children to invest.
I love that. Oh my gosh. What a blessing for them to have you as a parent too. So many kids grow up without that, knowledge that things are available to us.
Yeah.
That a lot of kids don't grow up with that. So they're so blessed to have you and your husband as parents, as
honestly,
leaders. That's
I think
awesome.
I am lucky. I'm the blessed one. Yeah. We all are blessed all around, right?
Yeah. Way more than I deserve. I know that's for sure.
Exactly. Me too.
Well, so what else do you want your audience to know about Shankari?
It's a good question. I think that I remember this growing up is like, when you're in high school and then there's the one girl that you want to be friends with, or you're just not sure how to approach that person. And you're like, hey, would you like to be my friend? And they're like, you kind of are snobby and I don't know if I want to be your friend. And I was like, I'm not snobby. I just maybe something came off in that like interaction, or my introvertedness that like they didn't, they experienced it in a different way, and they didn't see that I'm really just an awesome person, and I want everybody to know that. And so one of the things I do when I do meet people and connect with people is I just tell them, how can I support you? Because I want to be able to grow in my connection with you and in relationship with you. And then at the same time, I want to be able to support whatever it is that you're doing. So that's one thing that if anybody would meet me, they would not maybe know right away because I'm quiet and I'm introverted. But at the same time, I also like to be very friendly and supportive.
Yeah. Yeah. So just being your most authentic self, it sounds like, and coming with that giver's gain attitude versus here's my card, call me when you need me.
Exactly.
We've all been there.
Yes. And also being open to like just letting it go. Like, there's going to be people that come and go and say, oh, I would love your services. Oh, I would love a quilt. Oh, this and that. And then you may never see them again. They may never approach you again. And that's okay too. And letting that be whatever it needs to be so that you grow, maybe that quilt wasn't meant to be made just yet. And it's okay.
Yeah. Keeping yourself at the forefront of people's minds when that need arises, because that's how you become forefront of mind, is by being there and staying front of mind, even if they don't need what you've got right then.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Shankari. Tell us where our guests can find you online for either Soul Sister or the True You movement.
Two of the best places to look for us are Facebook and Instagram. You can find on Facebook the True You organization. If you type it in, you'll find us. And our kind of ambassador emblem, so to speak, is a sunflower. So you'll know that that's what you're looking for. And then for Soul Sister, I would say the best place to find me on Facebook as well. Or you could look for me on Instagram at Hello Soul Sister.
All right. You heard it right here. Soul Sister. It's SEWL sister, correct?
Yes,
soulsister.com. Right. Soul Sister on Instagram and Facebook, and the True You movement. Look for the sunflower on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you so much for being our guest. We appreciate your efforts and being a queen that leads.
Thank you so much, Amy. It was such an honor to be here today.
Thank you. I'm just so excited to hear what you're doing. Oh my God, here it goes again.
One more minute.
Blooper reel.
Exactly. Oh my God. Ready? 1, 2, 3.